your listings to point A, and maybe unbeknownst to you, they're re-syndicating your listings to point B and C. So you have maybe no idea kind of where your listings are displayed. We don't do that. We want you to know always where we're sending your information. Okay, any questions about ListHub up to that point? Does it seem pretty clear? Okay. Oh, yes, go ahead. To raise the screen? Sure. Do you want to do that? Can you come up and help me raise this, Jeremiah? I'll talk a little bit. I think I just need to, yes.
And Jeremiah is not including me in that tech savvy.
Okay. You're not included.
Is automatically happening for us.
No, I'm sorry. That is something I do need to clarify. It's available for you. It is something that the MLS has worked to integrate, but great question. It's all of the brokers, managing brokers actually have to register their offices or their companies for ListHub. You have to register for it. So that we can know there is no fee. The registration, as a matter of fact, you guys have a couple different forms that I handed out. You have all kinds of goodies there. There's this little white one. This is the registration form. Please do not be alarmed. I know there is a price on the second page. We're going to talk about that. That is for an upgrade that is completely optional. But the first page, this is the registration. You all can fill this out today to register for ListHub, and then we'll begin pulling your listings from the MLS for you. And they'll be up and running all of our sites within 72 hours. That part is
you guys can see it a little better.
the way that it works, actually. The managing broker does have to register the company because we need their authorization to pull from the MLS. That's one of our criteria, because we've chosen to do the MLS direct connection, which we think is really valuable to everybody. It still requires the broker authorization to pull. Yeah.
Just a question. When things come out of the MLS and go to realtor.com, the wording is changed, and everything is tossed around.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Is this taken directly where nothing is changed, everything is exactly how you put it in?
Well, I will say this. I can't, and you can, join me on this. With data feeds specifically, I can't speak for Realtor.com, obviously. We have agreed with the MLS to pull specific fields from the MLS onto your listing, and I would say that things will not be mishmash. They should not.
The wording doesn't change?
The wording should not change. We, as a matter of fact, we tell our brokers and our agents, we can show them metrics and things, sometimes their listings aren't getting very many hits, and we'll encourage them. We say, remember, when you're entering stuff into the MLS, the remarks, they need to be consumer ready, because we pull exactly what you're entering. So, Jeremiah, anything to add?
I was just going to mention, we're in the process of trying to get Realtor.com over to the ListHub. Yeah, my voice is shot as well. Basically, we're in the process of trying to convert Realtor.com's data feed over to the ListHub program. So they're going to be part of your opt-in or opt-out once we actually get to that point. So you guys are going to have the ability, if you're not happy with Realtor.com, don't say you're listening to them. But a lot of people really get exposure off of Realtor.com. So basically, it's going to be the same process. We've given them notice. We haven't heard back from them, but obviously, until they agree to it, at this point, we're just going to continue the way that we are. But hopefully, sometime around July 1st, we should convert them over to the ListHub. So they're going to get exactly the same thing that Trulia and everybody else gets. Exactly. So they won't have an aggregated threat speed anymore. It'll all go through ListHub.
We are, if I might brag a little on my company, Three White was actually started in 1999, and they've been doing, from the inception, they just deal with data. They had a program called List Exporter that was forecasting solution. So this is really what we do. We kind of keep it really focused, and so the syndication, the data is really, we're really picky about the integrity of the data. Something interesting too, I sometimes hear a lot of people, they ask about Realtor.com and how the two kind of fit together, and is Realtor.com better, is ListHub better? I would say, our focuses are different. Realtor.com is still, it's a great destination site, meaning there are a lot of consumers that go and search on Realtor.com. So there's value in having your listings on Realtor.com. What's also, though, important to note is that Realtor.com is not the only game in town anymore. What we have found is that there's really only, two things actually. If you take any of the two major sites, say for example Yahoo and Trulia, and you compare the amount of traffic on just those two, they get more traffic in two of them than Realtor.com gets. So to have 30 sites, you're getting the broadest exposure possible, and it's important to do that because we found also real estate consumers actually, I don't know if this makes intuitive sense to me, you guys will have to tell me what you think. There is only about 15% overlap of consumers that are searching for properties on different sites. So what that means is about 85% of people, if they say, for example, they like to use Trulia to look for their properties, they pretty much stick to Trulia. They search there. They're comfortable with that user interface. So there's not a lot of people that are trying a lot of different sites out there, and that kind of makes sense. How many of you are Googlers out there? When you go to look for anything, one day are you just like, I'm going to try Yahoo today. Like, it doesn't typically work like that. So it makes a lot of sense. So for us, it's important that we have exposure and have our properties on as many of these different sites as possible. Other questions? In the back, yes.
What if you're already on these sites from maybe a corporate company site?
Okay, the question was, what if you're already on a lot of these sites through a corporate, your corporate affiliation? I would say two things. Number one, if you're already being syndicated to a lot of these sites, there is maybe no need for you to have ListHub syndicate out to the sites. However, if they're not syndicating to all of them, then I would say it would not hurt you by any means to register for ListHub, because what will happen oftentimes is even if you registered for, let's say, all of the ListHub channels, many of the sites will have a deduplication method. So they will, a lot of times it's property address, for example. So say your franchise is sending your listings and ListHub is sending your listings. Oftentimes what will happen is they will recognize that it's the same listing and they'll kick one out. So it typically can't hurt you unless you are looking at getting reports and metrics back. And that's what I kind of want to start talking about in the second half, is what else ListHub can provide for you that is really neat and can be really, really valuable in terms of online marketing. If you're looking at gathering these metrics and the reports that we can provide, they will be compromised. They'll be skewed if you have two different listings because the different sites are kicking one out, so that your numbers may look lower than they really are. So that would be the only thing I would say.